This is the new generation Ford Transit Custom, and this time around it's available with diesel power or a fully electric model. And in fact, this model range is about to get complicated and there's a heap of new derivatives coming soon. So if you're interested in the Ford Transit Custom lineup, make sure you ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my reviews, because I will be bringing you heaps more content on this lineup and the different derivatives available. My name's Matt, this channel's called The Right Car, and is this the right van for you? Let's talk about that, shall we? As I said, I'm just covering off the diesel versions of the Ford Transit Custom in this review, and I'm focusing on this one here, which is the Trend entry-level model. It's available with short wheelbase or long wheelbase versions. This one here is a long wheelbase, and it costs an extra $1,000. I'll show you the extra capability and practicality that you get from choosing the long wheelbase shortly, and also the considerations about parking it, because it is a fair bit bigger. Now, look, I want to tell you about some of the anomalies with this current or new generation version that maybe you need to keep in mind if you're planning to buy one of these from cars that are already in stock, or if you're planning to order one. Because if you order one, you won't get the LED lights that are fitted to this base model Trend. This was just part of the initial batch that came to Australia. They came with LED lights. The new versions, if you're to order one now, it will come with halogen lights, which is not ideal. But this version doesn't have the hidden roof racks that you get on the new versions if you order one. So I guess it swings and roundabouts. You're going to have to figure out what's going to be right for you and your business. But hey, personally, I would choose the LED lights over roof racks any day of the week. Now, also in this Trend spec, you are getting a curbside sliding door, which is not glazed, and you're getting barn doors as standard. Now, if you want to add a driver's side sliding door, you can, and you can choose a tailgate as well if you prefer that over barn doors. It just adds extra cost to the equation. There's a few other quirks that I want to tell you about when it comes to what else you can get in the back, but hey, let's talk about standard specifications. Yes, you are getting plastic wheel covers on steel wheels if you're choosing this vehicle. You're also getting a spare wheel, thankfully. You don't get keyless entry, so you still have to press the button on the key to unlock the doors, which is a bit annoying, but you do get push button start. You also get a digital instrument display for the driver. You also get a 13-inch touchscreen media system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, plus sat-nav. Plus, there's also Ford connected services, so you can keep an eye on your apprentice with the Ford Pass system to see where they are and what they're up to. If you are monitoring your business like that. And look, it is a pretty sensible piece of technology, that Ford Pass system, in my opinion. If you are considering one of these models for work, then this is probably the better spec to choose. But there are a couple of models above it which might be a bit more appealing. If you're looking for something that might make a bit of a statement for your business, there's a Ford Transit Custom Sport model, which adds alloy wheels, it gets full LED lights as standard, it gets keyless entry and driver's seat electric adjustment. So it could be a better choice for you if you are going to spend a lot of time in the van. And then there's also the dual cab or double cab model, which adds glazed rear doors on both sides of the van and also adds an extra row of seats in the back. And you still get a pretty sizable cargo area as well, with a bulkhead too. So it could be a really good choice for you if you are looking for an alternative to a dual cab ute. And speaking of alternatives, I've actually got some really good ones that you might want to consider if you're looking at a van like this. The Hyundai Staria Load is one of them. I reckon that it has plenty of appeal because it's super comfortable on the inside. It's easy to see out of. It's got lots of standard safety spec. It comes with a diesel engine and front wheel drive and pretty good capability and capacity to its body as well. So it could be a really good choice for you if that's what you're looking for. And hey, remember my hack. If you are looking for a dual cab version of that vehicle, you could just buy the Hyundai Staria and then you'd get diesel with all-wheel drive and you could rip those seats out and you'd get glazing all around the back as well. I think that's one of the cleverest things you could possibly do if you're considering a van like that. Now, alternatively, you might want to go and check out the stalwart Toyota Hiace. It is a fantastic van. It is the go-to for a lot of customers out there who are looking for a diesel van. It's available with rear-wheel drive. It has a few different derivatives, including a high roof and a super long wheelbase and a commuter version. So if you need a bus, then it could be a really good choice for you and your business needs. It's actually one of the more impressive things to drive, and it does have pretty decent usability in terms of the cabin space as well. And finally, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to wait for the Transit Custom Electric, I want to get into an electric van right now. Now, well, there is one option available which I think you should go and check out, the LDV eDeliver 7. Now, you can check out my review of it by hitting the link in the description below and see for yourself if you think you can make it work for your needs. Now, it actually stacks up pretty well in terms of value for money. Like, it is pretty close to this on price, but the total cost of ownership for an electric van is way, way less, and it might actually suit your needs better than you think. Make sure you have a look at it, and if you haven't already, please hit subscribe to catch up with all reviews of all vans that I do in the future. I reckon this new generation model looks fantastic. And look, the existing one was still a pretty sharp looking piece of equipment. This one, I reckon it's better. But I don't like the fact that you're getting steel wheels with hubcaps and black handles on the doors. It all just looks a little bit tradie spec, and I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that it could be better, in my opinion. But there's other models coming, like I said, that might address those concerns. Now, this one is the long wheelbase version, so it's got an extra 400 millimeters between the front and rear wheels compared to the standard or short wheelbase. And also, I just want to call out the fact that yes, you still have to open the passenger side door to refuel. That is not ideal. And yes, there is no filler cap on the diesel. It's one of those easy fill ones. You've also got your AdBlue filling point there as well. I don't know whether it's just this particular example of this van, but the actual cover for this filler point doesn't actually line up that nicely with the back door. Just have a look at that. That is not ideal. Now, let's have a look in the cargo area, see what we are dealing with. Yes, it is a very sizable space in here. Yes, you do have an extra 400 millimeters of load length if you choose the long wheelbase version. And yes, you do have enough gap between those wheel arches to fit an Aussie pallet. And in fact, Ford claims that you can fit 4 Euro pallets from the bulkhead to the back doors if you choose the long wheelbase model. There is this extra storage capacity underneath this bulkhead section. You can extend in under there, and there's even more storage capability. So you can load some really, really long things into this van. Just close this. Sorry about the noise. Now, you get a standard bulkhead, and you can get it as a full steel bulkhead, so no glazing if you want that. And if you want that, you also get steel rear doors, so no glazing at the back. And if you choose that security option, you also get a digital rear vision camera instead of a mirror, which actually would be a welcome addition as standard, but that's not the case. Now, when it comes to the sliding side door aperture dimensions, you can see on your screen that that's not going to be wide enough to basically forklift in if you need to. And look, the door width doesn't change whether you choose the long wheelbase or the short wheelbase. And yes, as I said, you can option a driver's side sliding door if you wish. And that will obviously give you better access on that side of the van. Otherwise, you're going to have to come around this side every single time. Or you can use the back doors, which do offer a 180-degree opening. And also, they've got some pretty handy things to consider here. So you just open them up like so, and they will lock into place. And instead of one of those levers which you have to pull on some other vans, you just press this button and that unlocks the other side, and you can open it right up wide. You can see for yourself there that that is going to certainly be a forklift friendly load access point. And look at the length of this vehicle when we do that. It is phenomenally long in terms of the load space. Now, I'll put some cargo volume numbers on your screen and also some dimensions for you to keep an eye on about the short wheelbase versus long wheelbase decision-making process that you might be going through in your head. Now, all versions do come with lining on the sides of the van area, which is great. There's also a bunch of tie-down hook points on the sides, so you can see there. There's also some further up on the floor, or near the floor at least, and on the bulkhead as well, which is great. It means that loading and tying down items in this area should be fairly easy to do. Now, also I want to call out the fact that you do get LED cargo bay lighting as standard, and if you want, you can option this van with air conditioning in the cargo area, which could actually be fantastic for you if you're doing food delivery or something like that. or if you deliver greengrocer goods, it could be a really great option for you to consider. And it doesn't cost that much more either. Now you get a standard lined floor. It's one of those slippery plastic ones, so it might not be ideal for your business. And in fact, if you've got wet boots, it might not be ideal when you're getting in and out, because I've got dry boots and yeah, not great. All right, underneath this area here, you'll also find a spare wheel. That's a full-size steel wheel underneath there. And have a look at that rear suspension. Looks like it's ready for the job, doesn't it? Righto, so here is your point of view perspective for this new generation Transit Custom interior, and I reckon it looks fantastic. It's a big step up from the existing model. It's still utilitarian and still smart in terms of the storage and the usability of this space. I'm not so sure about this squircular steering wheel. It's a bit weird, but if you choose the EV model, there is a trick to it. You can actually turn it into a table, which is kind of neat. But wait, I'll show you that in my EV review coming later on. Now, vans like this are designed to be super practical and super thoughtful, and there is a decent amount of storage usability here. So I'm going to show you a couple of things up here. On this dash top section, you do have a heap of folder holders, which is handy to see. There are no overhead folder bins or anything like that. And there's not even a sunglasses holder, which I know will piss off some people out there. And also, what might not be ideal is the fact that you've got a manual rear vision mirror. It's not an auto dimming mirror, and it's not one of those digital camera mirrors, but you can get one if you need it. More storage over there in front of the passenger. There's also a reasonably sized glove box. You've also got these tiered door pockets. So you've got a couple of pockets there and a bottle holder down the bottom. And in here, in this passenger seat, there's also another section where you could secure papers and maybe a couple of other items in there as well. Underneath these seats, there's also additional storage. Let me just lift this out of the way so you can see for yourself. Now that's that load through port area. So if you are going to use that load through port, it might not be ideal, but hey, if you are planning to keep things out of sight from onlookers, it could be a really handy option for you to use that under seat storage. Yes, it does have 2 seats in the side. There are no child seat anchor points in this vehicle though. So if you are planning to take your kiddos, not ideal from that perspective. Right. There is also a wireless phone charger down here. You've got this flip out cup holder as well, which is actually pretty handy, I reckon. And in there, there's another little storage tray, which is actually quite good. And look, all the materials are pretty basic and plasticky, but hey, it's a work van, isn't it? There's also a cup holder up here on the driver's side where I've put the key, because I can't really think of anywhere else to put the key apart from in my pocket. Now, also, I want to call out the fact that if you like to show up to the work site looking good, well, you're going to have to check out your phone camera instead of the mirrors, because there are no mirrors in this vehicle to have a look at. I guess you could look at yourself in this mirror here. Maybe that's the point of it, isn't it? Let's talk a little bit about the tech here. You've got this digital instrument cluster. It does have a digital speedo as part of it. There is a bit of usability stuff to this screen, which you will have to get used to, but I think that it is a pretty practical, pretty usable design, and you just have to siphon through those menus using the steering wheel controls. The controls on the steering wheel are actually pretty logical, in fact. There's also a lane keeping assistance button there, so if you don't want lane keeping on, or you do want it on, you just have to press it twice to turn it off and once to turn it back on. And I think that that is a really nice thing to have, because it means you don't have to dive through this screen, which is a good segue to talk about this screen, because it is a fairly, well, information-rich display. So it is a 13-inch display. One thing that I like about it, you do have a volume dial, but you don't have some of the traditional controls that you might hope for. And that means that if you want to adjust the temperature, you have to do it with the buttons on the screen, or if you want to adjust the fan, you have to do it with the buttons on the screen. So that's not ideal. I guess you could ask the car to do it for you through voice control, but hey, who actually bloody does that, right? Now, there's also a recirc button there. Your demister buttons are there as well. And one other thing, if you want to adjust where the fan direction is going, you use this button in the middle, and say you want it on your body or your face, then you can press that and it'll show up sort of like a Tesla where the airflow is going. But just remember, you don't press that button to get back out of that screen, because if you press that button, it turns it off. As I found out the first few times I did it, you just have to press that button and it'll disappear again. Yes, it's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you also get sat-nav built into this vehicle as standard. Now, one thing that you might want to consider, if you are the sort of person who likes to be able to tune into AM radio, there is no AM radio for this vehicle. There is digital radio, which is great to see, but I mean, for those who are out in the bush and maybe can't get access to digital radio stations and want to listen to the AM radio band because it does offer emergency updates in some situations, that's not ideal, in my opinion. All right, back to the home screen. Let's go through some of the other elements of this display. So there are heaps of other different considerations that you might want to dive into and have a look through. There's heaps of driver assistance features as standard in this vehicle. And if you are looking for other features like your drive modes, you have to do that through the screen as well, although there is a quick button for some of those elements down here below. Nice display, isn't it? Looks pretty neat, I reckon. Now, you can quickly go through other things like your apps for your Apple CarPlay or whatever. And it is a deep, detailed screen. There's a lot of menus available through this screen. And you can also do software updates over the air, which is great to see if you are time poor and don't want to have to go into the dealership. Oh, I just want to also call out, that is where your park brake button is. Yes, it's a electric park brake, and you just pull it on or push it off. And also your gear selector. If you're wondering where that is, it is up here on the right side of the steering wheel. And yes, that means that your left stalk is your everything stalk. It's your wipers and your blinkers. So that might take a little bit of getting used to for those who prefer to have the blinkers on the right hand side. I know there are plenty of you out there, and I'm one of you. Under the bonnet of the new generation Ford Transit Custom is a familiar powertrain. It's a 2-litre turbo diesel, 4-cylinder engine. You'll see the outputs for it on your screen now. It comes as standard with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's only available with front-wheel drive. Now, there are some things you might want to consider when you are looking at a Ford Transit Custom. It has a maximum brake towing capacity of 2,500 kilos, which is good for the class. And hey, another consideration, you've got a 70-litre diesel tank. I'll tell you about the efficiency later on. But also, there's a 20-litre AdBlue tank as part of the equation here too. Honestly, I think the thing that's going to be the most difficult to get used to for some buyers of this van is where the gear selector is. It is over here, as I said, on the steering column. It comes off the right side of the steering column where you might have been used to indicating, but that's now where your shifter is. So that'll take a little bit of getting used to, but if you've driven a vehicle in the modern age, it might not be that big of a deal for you. You press the button on the end to put it in the park, in case you're wondering. All right, so what is the drive experience like in this van? It's bloody excellent, I have to say. It's very, very likable, livable, comfortable, and enjoyable. Surprisingly, I don't have a load in the back, and it is really quite amenable to city driving, urban driving. It deals well with lumps and bumps in the road surface, and it's comfortable on the highway at open road speed as well. Look, honestly, there's not too much to fault in terms of the ride comfort, the control, and also the capability of this vehicle when it comes to driving without a load. And I have to say, it's also quite a joyous thing to drive. Like, it's really easy to drive this van despite its size. Remember, it's almost 5.5 meters long. It is a big van, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to see out of either. Like, you do have dual pane mirrors, which is handy because you get a couple of different perspectives on what's happening behind you. But this mirror up here is basically bloody useless because you can't actually see much through that window in the bulkhead, and certainly can't see much through the rear windows because of the barn door layout and the big beams of steel that run down between the glass. So look, The visibility, maybe not ideal. There is no surround view camera as well, which lots of other vans or modern day vehicles have. So, I mean, maybe that's not ideal. Maybe it's something that will be added later on. I hope it is, because it would make this vehicle easier to live with from a day-to-day perspective. But more general driving impressions, I really like it. I think that it's very easy to drive. It is likable and fun and smooth and comfortable, and it does have enough grunt. There's no doubt about that. Like, it's a 2-litre turbo diesel and it is grunty enough. There's plenty of torque in reserve here. You put your foot down, and like, I know I don't have a load in the back, but the transmission does a really good job of harnessing the grunt and getting it down to the ground as well. Remember, it's front wheel drive only. So look, for the most part, I think that it's really, really good at the urban and slow speed driving stuff. I mean, there's 1 or 2 times that I've driven it where I've noticed that the transmission can be just a little bit confused, especially when you're on and off the brake and accelerator. So that might be something, if you are doing a lot of stop-start driving, that you might find to be a little bit tedious. But it does have start-stop technology as well, so it will actually switch the engine off to help you save fuel, in theory, when you're in traffic. So that's good to see. Can't see a thing, by the way. Yes, it is a work van, so it's not the quietest experience that you'll ever have behind the wheel. You can hear a fair bit of the road surface below. It's not too bad, and particularly happy that there is a bulkhead as standard, because otherwise I reckon it would be a bit of an echo chamber in here, as I've experienced in vans in the past. But like, really, I think this is a very amenable and usable and urban friendly, but also work friendly vehicle. So what about fuel consumption? Okay, well, the official combined cycle number is 8 litres per 100 kilometres. And if you can achieve that on a daily basis, I think you're going to be pretty happy with it, especially if you're running around with a load. Now, I'll also put the CO2 emissions number on your screen now in case you need to keep that in mind. It does have AdBlue, it is Euro 6, and it does have start-stop technology as well, and a DPF too. So all of those things might play into your considerations, obviously. But yes, it is a diesel van, and if you're wondering what I've seen across my time testing this vehicle, you'll see that on your screen now. And look, I reckon that's pretty good. It's respectable, certainly. This van has not been tested by ANCAP yet, but it did achieve the maximum platinum rating under the Euro NCAP commercial vehicle testing regime, and that means that it's basically as safe as you could possibly get for a van like this. Things that come standard include autonomous emergency braking, forward collision alert, and there's also a rear autonomous emergency braking system, so it'll brake for anything that it might think that you're going to run into, which is good technology to have. There's a reversing camera and parking sensors front and rear. You also get blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and lane keeping assistance too, and there's a speed sign recognition system with adaptive cruise control that can adjust to the speed signs if that's what you want. Now, if you're choosing the cargo van versions of this vehicle, you get dual front side and curtain airbags, and if you choose one of the vehicles that has 2 front seats rather than 3, which is standard on the more work focused vehicles, then you get a front center airbag as well. Ford Australia offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty for its model range, including the Transit Custom van. And if you're choosing one of these vehicles and you know you're going to do a lot of Ks, you'll be happy with these service intervals. It's every 12 months or 30,000 kilometres for this diesel engine. That is phenomenally long in terms of leaving it between services. You might not be comfortable with that, but the service pricing is actually not too bad if you are going to be one of those people who does lots and lots of Ks, at $499 per service. And if you service with Ford, you get up to 7 years of roadside assistance included as well at no extra cost. Thumbs up. This new generation Ford Transit Custom van should go straight to the top of your consideration list. If you're looking for a work-ready vehicle, well, It is brilliant. The last one was good. This one is even better. Sure, you have to pay a fair bit more to get into it, and there are some spec anomalies here, but it's way better to drive and more practical, more livable, with more safety technology, and it actually seems like the best van in this segment straight off the bat. Now that might seem like a big claim, but tell me what you think about it in the comments section below. Would you choose one of these? Would you go for something different? I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my future Ford Transit Custom review coverage, because there's going to be quite a bit of it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.